So the Chicago Bears have a hidden first-round pick. Just such an underrated player that I want to talk about. A guy who's getting lost in the shuffle, even getting denigrated. And the player I'm talking about is Braxton Jones. And I think it's really important to have a fresh perspective on this guy as we go into the draft, because so many of you, myself included, are saying trenches first. This overall 10th pick has to be spent on the offensive line. I think it's important that we broaden our view just a little bit. And this perspective really helps. And also keeping in mind what the overall opinion is. The overall opinion is that Darnell Wright is an absolute stud. He's the answer at right tackle. I totally agree. But in the same breath, many are saying that Braxton Jones is a liability. I disagree with that. And I'm going to go through who he really is as a player and how he compares to every single tackle drafted in the first round since 2020. A lot of the stats to support this, a lot of this perspective is provided by Windy City Gridiron. They just did a fantastic profile, so check it out in its entirety. But there's a spoiler alert. This comparison to every tackle that's been drafted in the first round since 2020, it's so favorable that I'm going to absolutely agree. I'm going to say that Braxton Jones is most definitely the hidden first-round pick that the Bears have that nobody's even talking about. And now, while I'm advocating for drafting in the trenches, I am advocating for that. But the only guy, in my opinion, that's worthy of our 10th overall pick at offensive line is Will Campbell out of LSU. And you're looking at some of the other guys available. I mean, Armand, he's going to have to switch sides of the field. He's going to have to learn left tackle. That doesn't happen successfully often. Simmons is coming off an injury out of Ohio State. Banks is not an NFL tackle, and if he was, he's not better than Braxton. So I would still advocate for Will Campbell if he's there. Most definitely draft him with the free agents that we've added. And also his arms are a little short. I don't totally agree that disqualifies him to be a left tackle. But if he's not cut out for that, we would gladly welcome a wide body at guard as well. I think he's still a really good pick. But besides that, let's pivot. And I think it's just a really good thing to do that. We still have our 2 high seconds and our 3rd to take care of the trenches. So that means the Bears have set themselves up in a situation that if that means that at number 10, it's a running back or tight end, so be it. Let's get the best player available. So anyways, let's get into this. Let's get into the question if anyone drafted in the top 10 of this year's draft would be better than Braxton Jones. And going back to this Windy City statistical breakdown, we're talking 35 offensive linemen have been taken in the first round of the draft since 2020. Now, out of those, 22 of them have been designated as offensive tackle and started more than one game or played at least 50 snaps. So to recap, we're talking about 22 of the 35 offensive linemen that have been taken in the first round of the draft over the last 5 years have been an offensive tackle. Okay, so how do our tackles measure up against this criteria? So let's kind of start with Darnell Wright. So out of these 22 tackles drafted in the first round that have started more than one game or played at least 50 snaps, we're looking at Darnell Wright ranking 4th in terms of 2 areas, having the lowest blown block rate, that's per Sports Information Solutions. I don't know why that's hard to say. And also 5th in terms of having the lowest total error rate. And that's when we're talking about penalty rates added to blown blocks. So holding blocks, 4th best, 5th in terms of eliminating mistakes. So what kind of company is this in? We're talking about Rashawn Slater. We're talking about Sewell from Detroit. We're talking about Tristan Wirfs. These are the only 3 players who are better than Darnell Wright. Like, great company, right? He's an absolute stud in my opinion. These 2 criteria, which I think are very good criteria, they support it. Let's even look at another source. PFF in 2024, Wright would rank 7th. So in simple terms, he's playing in the top 3rd of other first-round picks who are in playing time at tackle. So the right side is set. I'm throwing a lot of stuff at you here. But also, are we wrong with this criteria thinking that left tackle isn't set. So let's look at Braxton Jones using this criterion. Once again, Windy City Gridiron provided a great service for this. So let's look at Braxton Jones. He would rank 12th of 23 in terms of blown blocks and total errors for his career, and 9th in 2024. This is PFF. So 12th out of 23 in terms of blown blocks and total errors for his career combined, and 9th ranked in just this last year from PFF. So to put that into perspective, let's say Braxton Jones went to a bigger school, right? Let's say he was drafted in the first round. So we take that 5th round stigma away and we just look at the player only, just how the player has performed. We're looking at as a 5th rounder, he would be moving up 136 spots in the draft, by the way. So now if you're looking at it that way, the Bears have 2 of the top 10 tackles drafted in the first round over the last 5 years. You're looking at Darnell Wright being the 4th, and we're looking at Braxton Jones being the 9th last year, according to PFF. And that's just crazy, right? Crazy perspective that the Bears already have on the team 2 of the top 10 tackles drafted in the first round over the last 5 years. So we're looking at a 5th rounder providing average production among all first-round tackles over the last 5 years from a 5th rounder. That's eye-opening. So it's like, that's great, Sean, but shouldn't we be looking for a replacement in this draft? Isn't it possible to improve on that? Should we look at paying Braxton Jones next year? Let's kind of look at that. And this is some stats from Bleacher Report. We're looking at Will Campbell. He is an outlier. Outside of him, the highest score for a tackle prospect this year is 7.9, and that's Membo and Simmons. But then we're looking at the average of the prior 5-year round 1 tackles rated at 8.3. So already, if you pluck Will Campbell out, this class is already lower performing than the last 5 years of first round tackles. So you're looking at that as a medium. So the NFL has a median score of 6.45 and a mean of 6.51. I mean, I'm throwing stats out here, but you've got Membo as probably the best prospect to be a tackle outside of Will Campbell, and he ranks at a 6.49. So what do all these numbers show? I should have done like a pie chart, right? In other words, the best of this class would probably be below average for a first-round pick in other years. And we've already got a top 10 left tackle when you use this criteria from the last 5 years of first-round draft picks. So that's like really opening. That's really telling us as Bears fans what we really have in Braxton Jones. I mean, it's going to take an above-average prospect to compare to the performance that Chicago is already getting from its left tackle in Braxton Jones. I mean, and as a whole, outside of Will Campbell, this is a well below average class of tackles. If you go by this criteria and this type of thinking, this type of statistical analysis, the answer is not in the draft. There is no one better in the draft besides Will Campbell that is going to perform better than what we already have in Braxton Jones. So that's really eye-opening. That's really encouraging. And I think there is reason to strengthen this depth on the offensive line for the long run. And I think also in case Jones isn't fully recovered from his injury, there is a world that happens. But to reach in the first round for a tackle that's below average to the mean in the NFL over the last 5 years, when the guy that you're reaching for is not as good as the guy that you already have on the line, maybe that shows you if we're going to develop someone, maybe we should do it in the second round. Maybe we should do it in the third round. And Dan Rouchar has been kind of poking around at some of these mid-round guys in this draft. I think the Bears might be thinking the exact same thing. So we're kind of looking at this coming year's outlook on Jones. I mean, he ended the season on IR, had surgery on his broken ankle. The expectation is that he should be ready for training camp in July. That he is perfectly on the timeline. He should be completely fine, but this offensive line has got to be focal point of this team. There's multiple starting spots that were open at the end of the season. We have really addressed that, and you guys know what happened. We've got Dahlman. We signed 2 really good guards. I think that's going to solidify things with Jackson and Tooney, and I really feel good about that. Darnell Wright is set at right tackle, and I'm arguing that Braxton Jones is set at left tackle. So what we need to do, I think it's best player available. I think it's kind of off base to be like, it's got to be an offensive lineman, because no one wants to reach for one if Campbell is gone. You guys let me know what you think on the comments. I always interact with you, and I appreciate even your negative comments. They're usually funny, but you guys have been so good for this channel, and I appreciate you. Bear down, and we'll talk soon. See ya.